Hey guys, what is going on? Jurgen from ZurGrinoSports here, and today we are coming at you with the March 12th edition of Smackdown Review, March 12th, 2021, of course, of the Smackdown Review. Quickly before we get into the review, if you'd like to support me in the channel, you could do so over at Patreon, first link in the description. Let me know what you guys thought of Smackdown down in the comments below, and if at the end of the review you liked what I said, leave a like and subscribe and all that shit. But without further ado, I'm saying, if I could speak, let's get into the review. So we started things off with an Edge promo where he says, he has a couple things he needs to address. People have been, saying his name and shit like that. And the first thing he'll address is Roman. A few weeks ago, Roman said that a man like Edge doesn't want to face a man like Roman. He has kids, all that stuff. But, before Edge decided to acknowledge him as the main event, Roman was like, acknowledge me as the main event. But then, when he did pick, he tried to U-turn, he tried to backtrack, and he backtracked into Daniel Bryan, who Daniel Bryan went into business for himself, and Roman got sucked into that whole thing. As for Bryan, he said that how Bryan said last week that he deserves the main event more than Edge because he loves wrestling. He's wrestled more in the last 3 weeks than Edge has in the last 3 months. But, Edge says, as a reminder, let me remind you and the newer audience who I am. I wrestled 5-6 days a week if we had a pay-per-view on Sunday or whatever. I wrestled, Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, Eddie Guerrero, Mr. Perfect, all these guys. And, he didn't have to come back to wrestling. He's back because he loves this. So that's not a good thing to base, Bryan's statements on, kind of thing. Bryan interrupts. He's like, oh, you said Roman got sucked in, Edge, you got sucked in, really, because, it wasn't my intention to, suck you in with my promo last week. He thought that the ultimate opportunist like Edge would appreciate or would respect Bryan going into business for himself, air quote. And he wants to clear the air. He says he respects Edge, everything he's done. He sees how hard he works because he loves this, all that stuff. And when he wanted to challenge Roman, it wasn't about Edge. It was because at Elimination Chamber, when Edge pointed to the Mania sign, he was demoralized because in what might be his last Mania, he allowed himself to be on the back burner. You know what I mean? So, and he's going to try his best to actually make it to the main event of Mania. Edge is already going to Mania. He has nothing to be concerned about, kind of thing, but Bryan has to earn it, kind of thing, because he doesn't know if it's his last, but it might be his last. Edge says that, Roman already beat Bryan. Circumstances and whatnot, a win is a win, just like Edge won the Rumble, 1 through 30, beat everybody, 60 minutes, whatever. There's a mutual respect there for Bryan, but he doesn't like how Bryan did this. He thinks that Bryan is better than this, but he's not better than me. This promo, again, it's just, I don't like Edge complaining about this at all. Because Edge gets his match. Why is Edge complaining about Bryan potentially getting the Mania match instead, when before Elimination Chamber, again, he went up to Bryan, on the programming and said, yo, hope you win at Chamber. I'd love to face you at Mania. Now he's the one backtracking. You know what I mean? It's just, just Edge, really, since winning the Rumble, a lot of his promos haven't made much sense. They've kind of been going back and forth, contradicting themselves, and I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's the writers not being able to decide what they want. Apparently there was a report, I think earlier today or yesterday, that there are only 2 matches planned for Mania, and the build to it has been scrapped, and they're like working from the ground up again for the build for Mania, which is not good because we are a month away from Mania. So might not be the best Mania this year, with fans and everything. Wow. But it's just, you know what I mean? Like Bryan's part of the promo, I really liked because Bryan, explained his actions. He was like, hey, listen, I'm all for putting people, ahead of me and helping out the greater good in the future of this business, like he said last week. But then he's like, you know what, though? This might be my last Mania. and I am a main event guy. Why am I putting myself on the back burner for my last Mania? I should want to be in the main event of Mania. So Bryan's side of the promo made sense. It's just Edge, his side of the promo doesn't make sense. He also said, putting going into business for yourself in air quotes apparently makes it okay, even though how did Bryan go into business for himself by earning a title shot? You know what I mean? Oh, he robbed a non-title tag match, a throwaway tag match. It's just within kayfabe, just Edge's part of the promo just doesn't make sense. And again, I don't know if that's him. I don't know if that's the writers. I don't know what that is. It's just, it just doesn't make sense to me. He's giving off heelish vibes, even though he's supposed to be the face. I don't know if that's because they want to turn Edge heel or not. I really don't know what they're doing with this. It's just Edge's part of the promo didn't make sense. I didn't like him complaining about it the weeks prior. I didn't really like anything about Edge being like, oh, why does he get a shot? Why does he get to jump the line? He's not jumping the line. You are the line. Like, you're getting that shot at Mania regardless of who. The only reason you would complain about Roman facing Bryan and Bryan potentially winning the championship is because you're afraid of Bryan. You don't want to face Bryan. And then that would just make you a heel because you're trying to avoid who you think might be the better competitor. I don't, like, it doesn't really make sense. So yeah, I didn't like Edge's part of the promo. I liked Bryan's part of the promo. He utilized his promo minutes well. It's just the Edge side of that promo, I don't really like it that much. It just doesn't really make sense to me. Then we had an 8-man tag about to kick off. Profits making their entrance, then joined by the Mysterios making their entrance, and they get blindsided by the Alpha Academy and the Dirty Dogs, leading us to the commercial break. And then when we come back from the break, we have the 8-man tag. I think there was another commercial break in the match. The match itself was good. You know what I mean? You got a bunch of good wrestlers in there, and Otis, which that's not really a knock on Otis. It's just when you're the build of a guy like Otis, you're kind of limited as to what you can do in the ring, honestly. And that's not a knock on him. He fills the role that he needs to fill. It's just like you'll never expect a Cesaro level performance from Otis in the ring, just because Cesaro is one of the best and Otis is kind of like a role player in the roster, I think, right? So at least in my opinion. And again, that's not a knock on him. That's just, Rude's in there, Ziggler's in there, Montez Ford is in there, Rey Mysterio is in there, Gable is in there. You know what I mean? You got some like elite guys in there, and Otis just isn't one of them. But he's not bad, right? So that's. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's not like a great wrestler. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not trying to knock on him. I just wanted to clarify. Dawkins isn't that great either, but. Again, he's not bad. So, 8-man tag. The match was good. It got decent time. I think it got about 10 minutes. The only thing is they had Montez pin Bobby Roode for the match, and obviously it's so that they can set up, Street Profits getting a rematch for their titles, and that's fine and everything. It's just, do Street Profits really need another tag title run after just holding the titles for a year? Because it's like, just build up other tag teams in the division. You know what I mean? Alpha Academy could do with the titles. Gable being a champion is needed. Ray and Dominic being tag team champions would be great if they could win the titles at Mania. That'd be fantastic. You know what I mean? So it's just, do you really need a Street Profits title run again this shortly after they held it for that long? You know what I mean? And I get part of it is because they're over and they're a great tag team and all that stuff, and I agree with them being a great tag team. I love them as a tag team, but you're kind of getting into a little bit of New Day territory, a little bit of Charlotte territory, a little bit of Roman before the heel turn territory if you just keep pushing them as the only tag team in the division that can be the champions, because as good as they are, if you just continually give us nothing but that with no evolution to their gimmick, it's going to get old. So why not just use this opportunity now without fans? They're going to have fans at Mania, of course. But I mean, like, just use this opportunity to get other tag teams over. You know what I mean? Like, plus the champions look weak in the pin, and I know it's to set up the thing, and sometimes having a champion lose in a tag match to set up a match later, that's fine, you know what I mean, if it's a multi-man match, whatever. But again, this is an 8-man tag full of 4 tag teams. So it's still a tag match. So like, it's not like a singles champion losing in a tag match to a guy, you know what I mean? Because then that's out of their element. That's whatever. But it's just, I don't know. It's, it's just not really necessary in my opinion. You don't need to put them right back in the title picture, in my opinion. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's not like they're garbage and they're like, oh, here we go again, Vince picking his favorites and pushing the garbage people over talented people. No, Street Profits are great. It's just, they held the title for a year or over a year, whatever it was. Build up the other tag teams in the division. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just my opinion. But the match quality itself was fine. They showed footage from the bump where Molly Holly got announced that she would be inducted into the Hall of Fame, which I'm really happy about because Molly Holly is great. From all accounts of what you hear from wrestlers and stories about her, she's just a fantastic person. You know what I mean? Beth Phoenix, I think, in her Hall of Fame acceptance speech, said that Molly Holly had paid for her wrestling school tuition pretty much in full because she believed in Beth. So, just an all-around great person. She was a good wrestler, too. She wasn't one of the wrestlers from her era that was a model or an actress looking to get, further that career by being in the WWE for a cup of coffee. She didn't really fit into the mold of the Divas division where, they would flaunt their bodies and stuff like that. Like, she was a wrestler and she was a good one. And I'm really happy that she's inducted. That has nothing to do with really Smackdown in general for the show. I just thought I'd share my thoughts on that because Molly Holly getting inducted is big. And, yeah, I think that would be that's really cool that they're inducting her. Gregory Helms, Shane Helms, Hurricane Helms, he was the one who broke the news to her. He was crying. He could barely contain himself because I think Molly Holly was aligned with Hurricane in 2002 or something like that, and she was like Mighty Molly Holly, right? So obviously they have a connection going back, being on air as a gimmick, I guess, as a partnership on air. They're probably really good friends. And again, she just seems like she is just a genuinely great person by all accounts. So yeah, really happy she's in there. I think she deserves it. So yeah, man. Then we had a little promo segment with Jay walking backstage. He's about to go talk to Roman, and Paul's like, "Hey," Paul Heyman, that is. He's like, "Hey, where do you think you're going? Have you spoken to Roman lately?" And Jay's like, "Yeah, I did a couple days ago. I mean, yesterday he was cool." And then Paul's like, Fridays are hectic. I don't know if you want to go in there." And then Jay's like, "Oh, you know what? It's cool. I got some things to take care of that he wanted me to take care of, so I'll go do those and circle back." And then Paul's like, "Oh yeah, he'll probably want to talk to you by then." So they're trying to put over that Roman is pissed off about Jay tapping out in the cage last week, which Paul Heyman also I'm having a stroke, also mentions. So that was good. We had a Rollins backstage interview where he was asked about Cesaro being a thorn in his side. But first, let's take a look at 2 weeks ago, showing the swing. And he's like, "Why are we still talking about this? Why are you showing this? Blah blah blah. I went out there to help Cesaro. He's been one of the most underutilized people, one of the guys with greatest potential. He's had some success in WWE, not as much as me, but he has had some. And I wanted to help him and I wanted to get him to my level of success. But I'm done with him. He is the biggest waste of potential in WWE history." The interviewer says, he seemed to have fulfilled his potential in a match against Murphy last week, and he looks to do so again in their rematch tonight. And then Rollins, in what I think will become a meme, looks intrigued and he's like, rematch? And then he exits the stage, I guess. Then we had a bizarre segment, which was Nia, Shayna, and Reggie going on a shopping spree where they go into like a suit store. And Nia's like, "Yo, you had it rough this time, but don't worry, I got you. Get whatever you want." and then they have like a fashion montage of Reggie trying on suits and doing like Cirque du Soleil shit in the suits and stuff. Shayna does not give a fuck. Nia's really into it. And at the end of the segment, Reggie's like, yo, what can I do to repay you? And then porn music plays, like cheesy, like 80s garbage. Not 80s garbage, because 80s in general was a great era for music, by the way. But like just like cheesy, like 80s or 90s, like porn music that you see in like every comedy show when they're trying to insinuate something like that. Like the heavy saxophone and all that bullshit. Like, I just don't know what to make of that segment, because like, I don't know why they're going with Reggie, with Nia being, with Reggie being a sugar baby to Nia. I don't know why that's a storyline on SmackDown or on Raw or in WWE in this current day and age. I really don't know what to make of that. I don't think I liked it. From a meme standpoint, from like a, hey, look at that, that's memeable, like fine. But like from a just genuine, ooh, I want to enjoy the show, I didn't really like it too much. And it led to some stuff later that I really disliked. So we'll get to that. But then we had Cesaro versus Murphy. These guys have great chemistry. They are two of the best wrestlers in the company, in the world. Murphy should be upper mid-card to main event level, but he's not. And I don't get it. I really don't. I don't know why Vince doesn't see the star in him. But then again, Vince hasn't seen the star in Cesaro until recently. So... You know, Vinnie Mac, brother, the product will probably get a lot better when he retires or dies, whichever comes first. But yeah, man, just so many people with so much talent. I mean, Andrade apparently asked for his release on Monday. Andrade is another guy who should be upper mid-card to main event level. And he just hasn't been on TV since I've started watching around October. I asked some people, and they said that he was a big part of the PC era of Raw at the beginning of the pandemic. He had a stable with him, Garza, and Zelina, I think. And then maybe Austin Theory was there too or something like that. But like... yeah, I don't know how Vince looks at him and thinks, don't put him on the show. You know what I mean? Because, like, I get that he doesn't speak fluent English, but give him a mouthpiece. You had one in Zelina, but oh shit, she wanted to stream on Twitch, so she's not allowed to work for you. Vincent Kennedy McMahon 2021. More deluded than ever. Anyways, back to Cesaro versus Murphy. Great match. Well, not great match because it wasn't that long, but I mean, it was a very solid match. You know what I mean? Seth's music plays before the match starts, and he has a chair with him. He sets it up at the top of the ramp, and he's going to watch from the ramp. The match goes by. Very good match for the time that they were allotted. And then while Cesaro is doing the swing, Seth comes in, attacks Cesaro, causing the DQ, continues to beat him down, hits the stomp, talks about how, oh, you think you're on my level? You think you're on my level? Then stand up. Cesaro struggles to get to his feet. Seth kicks out his leg, another stomp. And then goes and gets a chair. You embarrassed me time and again. You embarrassed me. Nobody embarrasses me. Puts Cesaro's head in the chair. Goes to the corner to set up for a stomp with his head in the chair. Jamie Noble, formerly of J&J Security, intercepts him. The refs are out there trying to get him to call off his attack. He leaves the ring. When he goes backstage, he is accompanied approached, I guess. He walks backstage, and the first person he sees is Shinsuke Nakamura. They have a stare down, and then Seth walks off, and then Shinsuke kind of stares at him while he's leaving. So I guess they might do Seth and Buddy Murphy versus Shinsuke and Cesaro at Fastlane or something like that, before they hopefully do Cesaro and Seth, with Cesaro going over at Mania. That would be great. Please and thank you, WWE. Yeah, man, I liked Seth wanting, like, being that upset that he would go for the chair and stuff like that. I liked that. Murphy didn't get another, clean loss, which I'm happy about, I guess. Granted, if he would have gotten a win, as much as I love Murphy, and you guys know I love Murphy, it wouldn't have been right. Cesaro should be one of the most protected people on the roster right now. He probably shouldn't lose for a long-ass time. You know what I mean? Give him like a little bit of a mini undefeated streak kind of thing and just protect him and build him up, because I really think he should be the guy who dethrones Roman for the Universal title around SummerSlam, I'd say. So, yeah, man. I thought it was fine. Like, the match was good. Seth interrupts, you know what I mean? It advances the feud. You know what I mean? Beat down by Seth. Seth's motivations make sense, being that he's the heel, and introducing Shinsuke to it makes sense too, because Shinsuke and Cesaro were a tag team for a little bit. They're friends, whatever. They went their separate ways because they had singles aspirations, but Shinsuke sees what's happening, he's not going to let it slide, kind of thing. So maybe they do that, or maybe Shinsuke becomes a follower of Seth. You don't know. They could go that route too, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. I like the segment. Then we had Sammy and Kevin Owens backstage. Well, Kevin Owens was walking, getting ready for the Kevin Owens show, which he had scheduled for tonight. Sammy pulls him aside. He's like, hey, yo, we go way back. The WWE's been conspiring against me. I want you to be in the documentary. Kevin Owens is like, yo, I got Kevin Owens show right now, but I'll get back to you. And then Sammy's like, no, see, you do this thing where you blow me off. And then Kevin Owens is like, well, you're doing this thing where you always interrupt me, blah, blah, blah. And then Sammy's like, listen, we're going to blow the lid off this thing. We're going to get big numbers on YouTube. We talking Logan Paul numbers, blah, blah, blah. And then Kevin Owens is like, okay, listen, I'll think about it, but I got the Kevin Owens show right now. Kevin Owens is trying to get his cue cards for the Kevin Owens show on camera, and Samuel's like, no, we don't need that. And at the end, he's like, here, have this one. It's blank. I don't need it. I don't know if they're going to actually end up doing something with Sami and Kevin Owens, whether they put them as a tag team again and turn Sami face to team with Kevin Owens, or if they're going to have them feud again. I'm not really sure if this is like a seed planted for a long-term thing, or if it was just like a quick little backstage thing that they wanted to do. But yeah, then we had Jey Uso and Edge backstage, where Jey was walking backstage. Edge kind of pulls him aside. He's like, hey, no beef here, but I've known you a long time. I first met you when you were 10 years old. You came in the ring and we'd bump and shit like that. So I'm asking this man to man, like, what are you doing? In 2015, when I was out of wrestling and shit like that, a match with you and your brother kind of woke me up to think that I still love this kind of thing. And now, you're walking around with your shoulders, slumped down, and you're a subordinate. What are you doing? What does your father think of this? Stuff like that. And then Jay's like, yo, don't talk about my family, man. Don't talk about things you don't understand. Go enjoy your family, because after you get Roman at Mania, you're not going to be able to enjoy your family, kind of thing. And then that's what we had, a quick little Jay and Edge thing. I feel like they're probably going to try and plant the seeds of a maybe Jay uprising, I guess, or like a Jay standing up for himself thing before bringing Jimmy back to try and redirect our focus to kind of not expect the Jimmy Uso return. So I feel like that's maybe what they're doing with Edge and Jay. And it was good. I mean, calling back on personal experiences is good. It adds to promos. That's fine. And then we had the Kevin Owens show. Kevin Owens is like, I haven't been here the last few weeks. You're probably wondering why. Well, the last few months, were a bit of a roller coaster for me, physically, mentally, all that shit. But me, just keep fighting until I have nothing left. But enough about me. Tonight's not about me. Blah, blah, blah. We got this match. We got Bianca and Sasha. Bianca comes down first, then Sasha comes down next. Sasha, when she was doing her little thing at the top of the ramp for her entrance, her title kind of fell off, but she recovered pretty well. Kevin Owens says how they're going to make history at Mania, but at Fastlane they have the chance to make the Mania match even more special by walking in as champions, and the only people to ever do that, to fight for a championship while also being tag champions, were John Cena and HBK, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And so at Fastlane, they're going to have to do what they couldn't do at the Chamber, which is beat Nia and Shayna. There's some tensions going. He's like, yo, okay, listen, I know tensions are high. You got a high stakes title match. You got Reggie involved. You know what I mean? And then Sasha's like, yo, I mean, can you blame Reggie when I look this good? Like, can you blame him for simping pretty much? And then Bianca says like, yo, you gotta deal with Reggie, man. He's just a problem. He's gonna cost us matches, shit like that. And then Sasha's like, listen, man, all right, I've won so many titles. Like, I'm the MJ of this division. You can be the Jordan in time. Wait, what the fuck? Did I write Jordan? You can be the LeBron in time. You know what I mean? But for now, just like walk the road paved by the BEST, you know, and Sasha, and then she did like the thing that Bianca does, which I'm not going to attempt to replicate. And then Bianca, then Bianca's like, yo, first of all, this is how I say it. And then second of all, you know, you weren't with me in the gym practicing free throws or whatever, that whole saying, like, you weren't there, you didn't win the Rumble for me. Sasha's like, yeah, because I wasn't in it. If I was in it, I would have stopped you. Oh, and then Bianca's like, oh, that's what you think? And then Sasha's like, no, that's what I know. I'm going to be like Sasha 2 belts, I think she said, or a Sasha double champ or something like that going into Mania. Bianca says something about how, you know, Sasha may have paved the road, but Bianca's in her own lane before Nia and Shayna's music, you know, hits, and then they start coming down. Kevin Owens on the mic is gold here, and he's like, yo, I didn't invite them, though. I didn't invite them. And then Natalia and Tamina's music hit, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go. And then it's announced that we have Natalia and Tamina versus Sasha and Bianca when we come back from commercial. And then Shayna and Nia were on commentary. Reggie was standing up on the announce table throughout the match, showing off his new suit and stuff like that. You know, Shayna was like, yo, can we focus on the match? And then Nia and Reggie were focused on the fucking bullshit that they have going on. And then the finish came, which I was not happy with. So, you know, Bianca was the legal competitor. Sasha was outside and jumped on the announce table while Reggie was showing off his suit. And then she's like, you know, backing down Reggie, and Reggie's like, oh, hold on. And then he goes into the ring. And then when he goes into the ring, Sasha chases him in. He goes out of the ring. She like follows him out of the ring, but the ref's distracted, so the ref doesn't see Bianca pinning, I think it was Tamina, and I think Natalia got in or something, and then there was like a bit of confusion, which eventually led to Tamina pinning Bianca for the win. I have a lot of problems with this. Tamina and Natalia winning, big problem. Tamina being the one to get the pin, big problem. Bianca taking a pinfall loss, big problem. Them having Reggie be the focal point of the women's championship feud, big problem. The match itself is going to be great, and I love that that's the way that they're going, but the way that they've been building the feud has not been good. I like Reggie for comedic effect, and that's fine, but having him be the driving force of a history-making women's championship match, women's championship feud at WrestleMania, really just stinks, because it takes away from everything. Tamina getting a win just stinks, right? Just because she's not good. If Natalia had gotten the pin, it's a little bit better, but it's still shit, because they won the match. Bianca, the women's Royal Rumble winner, taking a pinfall loss like this just really stinks. And what I'm worried about is, you know, Bianca wins the title at Mania. She defends it again against Sasha. And then afterwards, Tamina's like, yo, you remember Fastlane? Or before Fastlane, I pinned you, dude. I'm next in line. And then we have an awful Bianca and Tamina match because, once again, Tamina's awful. Bianca is great, though, so maybe she could be able to salvage something from that match. I don't really know, but whatever. Just, I don't like Bianca I don't like the team of Sasha and Bianca taking the loss. I had a problem with it when they had their initial tag team match, and I also don't like the fact that they got another tag team match despite having not won a single tag team match together. I don't think they have, besides that 6-man where Reggie got the pin, which again was weird. Speaking of illogical things, Otis and Dolph teamed together earlier, which I forgot to, I mentioned who was teaming, but they didn't explain why Otis and Dolph were all of a sudden cool with each other, and I get it's because, they're heels, but also that's just a little bit devoid of logic. They could have literally just had Gable cut like one of those earlier today things and play it during the entrance where Gable was like, all right, we're teaming with Dolph today because the past is the past, and at the Alpha Academy, we don't worry about the past, we only focus on the future, and then there, you explain why Otis is okay dealing with Dolph. But other than that, why would Otis want to deal with Dolph when Dolph kind of made his life hell or whatever in the whole Mandy Rose storyline like less than a year ago? Actually, about a year ago now. It started less than a year ago, though. Or more than a year ago, actually, sorry. Yeah, more than a year. But, like, about a year ago, you know what I mean? They had that whole thing going and stuff like that. And Otis got over, whatever. But, like, just a quick little Alpha Academy thing with Gable being like, yo, fuck the past. We about the present. Boom, it's explained. And then you go on. But them not explaining it leads to people being like, oh, it's just because they're heels. So whatever, we'll just deal with it. Or people on Twitter being like, oh, this is probably the explanation. You should try and aim for people not to be like, oh, this is probably the explanation. You know what I mean? Unless you're going to explain it later and you're like building to the explanation or something like that, and you're building to a turn or like a swerve or whatever the fuck, as long as it makes sense. I don't know. It just would have been nice to just make it make sense a little bit because Otis and whatever. But going back to things not making sense in the women's division, or in the Smackdown women's title feud, just the whole thing, like, I don't get why they get a tag title shot despite losing their last one clean. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, at Chamber. They lost that match clean. I don't get why they get another title match. They did some fuck shit as well after this, which we'll get to in a second, which really pisses me off because it has no business happening on a SmackDown, and we'll get to it in a second. But yeah, I mean, the team of Sasha and Bianca losing, I don't like it. Tamina especially getting the win, I don't like it. Reggie being the driving force of the feud, I don't like. So, just especially like, and Bianca taking the pin, man. Bianca is your Royal Rumble winner. You don't need them to be booked like Superman or Superwoman or Wonder Woman or whatever the fuck, any superhero. I don't give a fuck. But you don't need them to be booked impeccably because they won the Rumble. They have that going in, whatever. Having a distraction loss and stuff like that is whatever. It's just having it happen this way and this close to Mania is just, it's, you know what I mean? Especially because the story is just so weak. You know what I mean? The story is just so weak. But I really didn't like that. Didn't like Tamina and Natalia winning. I didn't like whatever. If Riot Squad won, it would have been a little bit better because Riot Squad should be winning matches. I still wouldn't have been happy with Bianca taking the loss, but, it's just I don't understand it, and I don't like it whatsoever. So that was pretty shit. Then Bianca and Sasha kind of made the most of it. They were arguing ringside before we went off to commercial, but Bianca and Sasha kind of made the most of it backstage with a decent like backstage promo thing where you know what I mean? Bianca's complaining about Reggie being there and costing the match, like she said. Sasha's like, yo, he's only here because you told me to get rid of him. Now he's, salty. And then Bianca's like, no, I said get rid of him. I didn't say slap him. And, and then Sasha says she's not going to take the blame because Bianca took the L, and then she called Bianca a rookie. So if they transition this into a veteran versus rookie storyline with Sasha kind of being the heel, then I'll they could salvage it, I guess. It's just like, so they did a good job of salvaging what, the chicken shit to chicken salad Brock Lesnar thing from The Ultimate Fighter, right? That's kind of a little bit what this was. It doesn't excuse the tag match before. It doesn't excuse the booking before, but it's making the best out of that shitty booking, I guess. So if they can build on that going forward and make it more about the veteran versus rookie thing instead of the, hey, Reginald's the focus of this, then that's whatever. Big E had a promo because he returned this week. He was all like bandaged up and shit like that at the top of the ramp for his entrance. Then he rips all that shit off, and we got very serious Apollo. Apollo was talking about how, very serious Big E. Big E was talking about how Apollo opened ooh, Pandora's box. There's no coming back from this. No sorries will fix it. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You know, he made Big E go biblical. He's going to take an eye for an eye. You take one of mine, I take two of yours. You came to hurt me, I'm coming to maim you. You know, you're coming on my lawn, I bulldoze your house, and the pin's not going to be enough. Pinning you's not enough anymore. I have to end you, Apollo. You want what I work for. You want what's mine. Okay, I'm ready to give you what you deserve, and we don't need to wait. Let's do it tonight. Bring your ass out here. Come get it. Apollo doesn't answer the open challenge, so he's like, okay, you know what? I came dressed for a fight. I came dressed for a match. So open challenge to anybody who wants to answer it. Corbin comes out in his suit, and he's like, yo, you need to calm down, bro. You're acting crazy. But, you know, I'm not dressed to compete. You know, but I will, you know, tear up this $10,000 suit and scratch up this. And then Sammy cuts him off. He's like, hold up, I accept. And then Corbin and Sammy start bickering. Corbin's like, what do you mean? You can't accept. I already accepted. And then Sammy was like, no, we have it on tape. You were about to accept, but I accepted first. You know, snooze, you lose, whatever. They start bickering. Big E's like, yo, dog, cut it out. Whoever gets in the ring first gets the match. Sammy runs in the ring, starts gloating to the outside to Corbin, turns around into a belly-to-belly by Big E, and then he gets out of the ring and we go to commercial before the match starts. I'm liking the Corbin and Sammy bickering stuff because, you know what I mean, they could use it to turn Sammy face if they wanted to, or they could use it to just advance his stuff, and they're not even getting physical in a match. They haven't had a singles match against each other, so yeah, man, I honestly, you know, is good shit. I like the little subtle, just, you know, like the small storyline that they got going on between Big E and Sammy. Corbin and Sammy with the bickering thing. Yeah, and then we had Big E versus Sammy for the IC title. This was the in-ring main event. We had a little bit more after this in terms of contract signing, which we'll get to. But in terms of a wrestling match, this was the main event of the evening. Good match. They got decent time, and Big E retained clean. And while Big E was celebrating, Apollo's music hits, and he's like, "Oh, all right, let's do it." And then Big E is staring up the ramp. And he's like, "Hold on." He's gonna try and ambush me. So he turns around to cover the back side of the arena, but Apollo comes through not the ramp, but the part of the crowd like a little bit off to the ramp, so Big E was not looking there. Ambush. You know what I mean? He does the angle slam or the Olympic slam, which I guess is his finish now. You know what I mean? And he does it again. He's shit-talking him and stuff like that. And he goes and grabs the steps. He hits Big E with the steps, and then Big E goes to the outside. The ref tends to him. Apollo places the steps in the ring and then stands tall on the steps. You know, Big E got a big title retention against Sammy in a good match. A close match, so he looked strong in retaining the title. Apollo looked strong in the post-match beatdown. You made both of them look strong. You didn't make either of them look weak. You made Big E cut one of the best promos of the year, maybe the best promo of this year. You know what I mean? The one by Edge before Royal Rumble was very good. But just because like obviously I just say the words that the people said in the promos. I don't like, you know, recite them like they said them, but there was so much emotion and anger and passion in Big E's promo, and he did it so well. He was very intense. He was very angry. It was just a very, very good, serious Big E promo. And I love that they are doing this with him. I hope they do like a last man standing, although we had one fairly recently. They need to do like an I Quit match or something between the two, because like Big E said in his promo, like pinning Apollo is not enough. He needs to end Apollo. So maybe an ambulance match, because Big E was taken out in the ambulance. They could do an ambulance match. Ambulance matches are a little bit tricky because sometimes they're a little bit, you know, gimmicky and shit, but I'm sure they can make it work. You know what I mean? An I Quit match, a last man standing match, something like that. Yeah, so, you know, serious Big E is great because I love, you know, lighthearted Big E, and then he gets serious in the ring, but occasionally you do need a serious Big E on the promo, and he can do that so well as well. He did it really well with Apollo before Apollo turned, when they had that face-to-face where Big E put down the mic to make it seem like it was a man-to-man thing, which I liked. I mentioned that on the review. I liked that. It was a good touch. You know what I mean? He can do the serious, intense stuff really well. He can do the lighthearted stuff well. Big E is going to be such a good main event guy coming up soon. I think next year's Mania, Big E has to win. I think Big E should probably win next year's Rumble, or technically, no, it is next year's Rumble. I think Big E should win next year's Rumble, the 2022 Rumble. I think he should go on to Mania to win the title at Mania. I think he should hold the Intercontinental title for a long-ass time. But then again, Apollo, you've repackaged him so well that I kind of want Apollo to win that title. You know what I mean? So they're doing a good job with both, man. No complaints here. I mean, the match was good. The promo was fantastic. Probably the best promo this year between Raw and SmackDown in 2021. So, yeah, very, very, very good promo. The match was good. The booking is good because both guys look strong. Sammy can take the loss because he's doing the conspiracy gimmick thing. Sami and Corbin bickering and continuing their little mini feud. Like, you know, no complaints from me in this one. Absolutely none. I'm also liking the arrogant, I'm rich Baron Corbin because the King gimmick kind of has run its course. I'd like them to do a King of the Ring again and have the whole thing being him kind of like having to defend the King of the Ring. And then when he loses, you know what I mean? You could be like, you know what? Maybe I'm not King of the Ring anymore, but I'm still rich, baby. $10,000 suit, $50,000 watch. I'm better than you because Corbin can do that really well because he's a good heel promo. He's a good condescending promo. So I think he could do that really well. And I think the King thing has run its course for him because it's been a year or more now, I think. So if they can have another King of the Ring, if they can give somebody else, you know, the win, have somebody eliminate him, and then once again, him being like, yo, 2-time King of the Ring, brother, I'm going to retain it. And then maybe he goes out in the first round and then, you know, he throws a fit and then he does the whole I'm better than you rich gimmick. You know what I mean? Something like that could be good. Just because the King gimmick is kind of running its course. You kind of milked it dry a little bit. So, you know, it'd be a good way to revitalize his character. He's already doing it, so you can just fully lean into it if you take the King stuff off of him. I don't know if they have any plans for King of the Ring, but you know what I mean? That's just the idea. We had Nia and Reggie backstage being interviewed. Nia tells the interviewer to not interrupt or whatever, and then she says it's funny how Sasha said she'd walk into Mania with 2 belts, and then Reggie's like, you know what? You should challenge Shayna. What the fuck is up with me and mixing up names, man? You should challenge Sasha for her title next week. And then you can go into Mania with 2 titles. And then Nia's like, yo, I like that. Yo, interviewer, read the room. Hey, WWE writing crew, read the room. We don't fucking want this. Not only did you have that atrocity of a tag match earlier, right? Because the match quality was fine, okay? The match quality was fine. I don't care. But the booking of it just ruined the whole thing completely. And then now you have a Raw superstar challenging for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, but Nia and Shayna are allowed to be on SmackDown because they're the Women's Tag Team Champions. They're allowed to be on the brand to defend their championship. They're not allowed to just be on the brand. You know what I mean? It's not like that. You know what I mean? They're not a SmackDown person. They're not allowed to compete for SmackDown championships, single championships, because they're not SmackDown people. They are on the Raw roster, and they are allowed to jump brands because of the tag team titles, because they have to defend it on each brand. But do they have to defend it on each brand anymore? Because NXT just introduced their titles, and they have way too many titles now, and it's just fucking, you know what I mean? They should probably get rid of the women's tag titles, honestly, because, like, you eliminating NXT from this, you were already short tag teams, women's tag teams for that title. You already were booking it shit. Now you're taking away even more people to fight for it. All you have left are Riot Squad, Shayna and Nia, who are not a real tag team, and who Shayna should be a main event, you know, singles star. Nia can go back to NXT or something. Then you have Mandy and Dana, and then you have Naomi and Lana. Once again, 2 sets of just put together tag teams, because they had a real tag team in Peyton and Billy for the Iconics, but they broke that up for you know, the supposed reason of giving Peyton a push, and then they didn't give Peyton a push, and then she cut a great promo on Raw Talk, which if you haven't watched it, go check it out. She's fantastic. She should be given a shot, but she won't, because she's not Charlotte Flair. But anyways, you know, it's just, if they get rid of the tag titles, then, you know, you go from having Mandy and Dana being a tag team to being 2 singles competitors. Lana and Naomi tag team, 2 singles competitors. Nia and Shayna, 2 tag team, 2 singles competitors. Riot Squad can still remain together because that's a good gimmick, and then they can just, you know, help each other out and be affiliated. But you're adding more depth to the roster if you break up the tag teams, and because the tag team titles just aren't working well at all anyways, and you eliminated the NXT aspect of it, just get rid of the titles, man. You're not booking them well anyways. you're just devaluing the titles. You're devaluing the people who hold the titles. Just get rid of them. Granted, Sasha and Bianca are probably going to win, so they can go in as champions, win whatever, and then maybe lose it on the go home to add tension or whatever. I don't really care. But like, it's just, I don't like Nia having a SmackDown Women's Championship match on the go home. I really don't, because she's a Raw competitor. You know what I mean? If you wanted to have Sasha defend the championship, you probably don't want Bayley there, which Bayley wasn't on the show this week, by the way. Neither was Carmella. But anyways, it's just like, I don't know. I don't like it, man. I don't like it. Let's move on. And then we had Roman J and Heyman making Roman's entrance before we went to commercial. And we came back for the contract signing between Roman and Bryan. Roman makes Pierce move Roman's chair to the head of the table where it should be. Roman says, you don't want to do this, man. Like, a couple weeks ago, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. You had to do this and this, but you know what? It's a no. I'm not feeling this. I'm not going to sign it. And then Bryan's like, well, I'm excited, so I'm going to sign it. Who would have thought Roman Reigns isn't a man of his word? Roman Reigns is a coward. You think, what everybody thinks is I'm better. Like, I thought I was better, blah, 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 blah. I might as well be the self-proclaimed head of the table, blah, 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 blah. Roman gets upset with all that shit, all the down talk, trying to, get him to bite, and then he ends up signing. And then Bryan's like, I'm gonna make you tap out like I tapped out Jey Uso. Jey picks up the table, throws it, and he's like, yo, enough with the disrespect. This match needs an enforcer, somebody to call it right down the middle, and that's gonna be me. Edge comes out, he's like, hey, you know what? I like that idea, but how about this? For the first time in, I think, 11 years, he said, Edge in a singles match on SmackDown, me and main event Jey Uso, the winner is the enforcer. What do you think about that? Pierce is like, yo, that sounds good. Let's do it. Then the four of them brawl. Bryan and Edge are kind of beating up on Roman in the corner. Edge pulls Bryan off of Roman so he can get like individual shots in, and then turns around into a running knee by Bryan. And then that's how they go off the air. So, yeah, you know what I mean? You keep building the Bryan and Edge stuff. You got Roman in there as well. The contract signing was good. I liked Bryan manipulating Roman into, being like, yo, I mean, if you're going to back out, then that just means I'm, default head of the table, bro. And then obviously that pisses off Roman because that's his whole shtick, and you know what I mean? So, yeah, again, I don't like Edge's motivations. I don't like Edge's promos of being like, yo, why are you jumping the line? I don't like you getting a title shot, because it just doesn't make sense, especially as a face competitor. You know what I mean? If it was like a heel competitor against a champion who they're like, oh, I have a good chance against you, but like Bryan, let's say Bryan had beaten Edge before in a singles match, and he's like, oh, he's beaten me before, I don't want him. And then if it's a heel Rumble winner, and then the face who's beat them before and they know has their number gets a shot, then it makes sense for them to be like, no, I don't like him getting the shot. But as a babyface returning guy like Edge, who just wants to main event and get the title back, he never lost, it shouldn't matter to him who he faces, so his promos don't make sense. You know what I mean? Since winning the Rumble. Before the Rumble, his promos were good and stuff like that. But like since the Rumble, his promos haven't really made a lot of sense. Or at least since Chamber, really. Because before Chamber, they were kind of hit and miss. But like since Chamber, they just haven't really been hit at all. They've just been pretty much all miss, in my opinion. The Big E promo was probably the best promo of the year. It was fantastic. The women's tag match was shit. The booking of Nia getting a title shot next week is shit. Hopefully they transition, like the backstage promo segment, hopefully they transition into the veteran Sasha Banks versus the rookie Bianca thing and kind of salvage it, because the build honestly has not been good. They have a month left. They're probably going to win the tag titles, and then they're probably going to do a veteran rookie thing, I hope, to kind of salvage it, because if Reggie continues to be the main focal point of that feud, of that build, it's just not going to be great. You know what I mean? The 8-man tag had a little bit of a void of logic in there. The Intercontinental thing I really liked. The Cesaro thing I liked. But overall, SmackDown was a little bit disappointing, because like there was like, you'd get one good thing and then you'd get something like that's uncharacteristically bad of SmackDown, because on Raw, you expect shit like this every week. Raw's garbage. Raw is just straight fucking dumpster juice. But like, SmackDown's usually good and there's usually logic, and there was just, it was missing a lot of the times this week. So it was a little bit disappointing. Usually I give SmackDown like an 8 out of 10 typically, but I mean, like, This week, like maybe 6.5 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Like it wasn't up to the standard that SmackDown is usually at. So yeah, not the best SmackDown for me. A little bit disappointing, but yeah, that's my SmackDown review. Let me know what you guys thought of SmackDown down in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did you agree or disagree with my statements? Let me know all that down in the comments below. If you'd like to support me in the channel, you can do so over at Patreon, first link in the description. If not, that's A-OK. Discord server in the description, Twitter in the description. Sponsor Me PC, of course, obligatory sponsor me gimmick. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, because YouTube likes to zuck your boy. And I'll put my videos in your sub boxes, so by pressing that nice old bell icon, you will get a push notification anytime I do upload, and you'll never have to miss it. And if you want to check out some of the gameplay shit I do on the channel, that's primarily what the channel is based on, wrestling gameplay stuff. Go check that out. Links in the end cards and on the channel and shit. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, share it to all your friends, comment down below, all that good shit. And I'll see you guys next time.